Okay, here's her bio. She said I could lie, but I swear she's only 18 anyway. Anyway, she is an avid reader and bookseller at indie bookstore Riverbend in Bulimba. She looks 18 to me. She has reviewed books for the Courier Mail, presented panels at the Brisbane Writers' Festival, and regularly talks to parents and teachers about encouraging young people to love reading. And gee, if you can give us some tips on that, thanks a lot. That'd be great. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I am Emily. I work at Riverbend Books and we're an independent bookseller, and I'd just like to say thank you to everyone in this room who supports independent bookselling in Australia, because it's really important. As Cheryl said, publishing is really important in Australia, local publishing as well. Thank you to authors, to teachers, to other educators, librarians, parents. We really appreciate your support, and we'd like to be there in the 21st or the 22nd century as well, or in the 21st century. So we'd like to be there for the next 100 years as well. So thank you for continuing to come in and to enrich our lives with your discussions about literature for young people as well. I like talking, so come in for a chat anytime. I'm usually there, coffee, whatever. And thank you to the Children's Book Council and St Aidan's for letting me come and speak to you tonight as well. I don't think I've got a PowerPoint presentation up there. Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, no, that's okay. So just look into my eyes and, I'll hypnotise you with my wonderful wit. I am more than 18 years old, but thank you very much. I wish I was 18. The books that I've got for you today, they're 6 of my favourite picture books. I love picture books. One of my greatest joys at working in a bookshop is to encourage parents, it's usually parents, to stick with picture books. I know there's a lot of, you get to prep, you get to grade 1 and you want a chapter book. And I say, well, no, stick with picture books for a little while longer, because they're really, really, really gorgeous. They're great. There's so much to learn and look for in picture books as well. The first one, and I should say I vetted my whole list by reading them to children who were in at the shop, and it's really fun to do that, because something that you notice when you start reading a book to a child in the shop is that other children come along, and parents come along and go and do their shopping, but they come along at first, and you can kind of gauge the response to a picture book by how many people stop and listen to you, and that's something really special. The first book that I've got for you is Mirror by Jeannie Baker. This book, I barely even need to talk about it. You've all seen Jeannie Baker's books. She's amazing. She is, she's just a phenomenal artist, really. And this book is doubly good because it's twice the length of her normal picture book. It's basically a double picture book. So I know it's a little bit more expensive, but apart from the fact that you all need one for your personal library, you should get, 10, 20 for the school library as well. It's hard to cover, but deal with it. So I don't know, that's what we say. We've got tough love going on. It's a really beautiful book. For anyone who hasn't seen it, it opens in the traditional Western way on one side, and that's a Western story about a boy going shopping with his father. It also opens in the traditional Arabic way, which is the opposite. And it's got Arabic script. The title page is all, I don't speak Arabic, but I like pretending. You can pretend that you read it because you've got the English translation. It opens both ways, and there are several different ways to read it. It's remarkably hard to read to a class in the traditional way of holding it up, but it's perfect for either laying out on the floor, and you can read the stories in concert with each other. You can look at the differences and the similarities in all the pictures. You can see the trajectory of the story as it goes along, the same but different, I suppose. Or you can read it in, a more standard way, which is to read one side first, to finish that, and then to read the other side. Personally, I love nothing more than laying it out and looking at it all at once. It's a beautiful story. It's a very timely story as well. There are, of course, no words, so it's great to discuss with kids. And this is one of those books I was talking about, which I started reading with a couple of, they were 4-year-old ballerinas from across the road, and because of the weird school holidays, their older siblings were there, and some of them were, 12, 13, you'd think it'd be over picture books, and I looked over my shoulder and they're right there looking at the book with us, making up the story, saying, what's going on? Oh, why is the Sydney family getting a rug from Morocco? Oh, I didn't know they had computers in Morocco. I'm like, yeah, totally. So, it's really fun, and you can have a lot of dialogue about that book, which is why I absolutely love it. And it's a work of art to look at. It's absolutely beautiful. The Legend of the Golden Snail by Graham Bass. This is a great one for Gen Y and younger because it's very interactive. I don't know how many of you have played, Xbox, all of that fun stuff, but it's really, really engaging, and it's actually quite tough to pull some kids away from that very engaging, high-octane sport that they like. So to have a book like The Legend of the Golden Snail, which it's a very traditional story, it's a quest, it's an adventure, it's a boy, discovering the world, going out and finding things, looking for certain things on the page. That's one part of the story, and you can read it through in about 5 minutes, well, a little bit longer. You can read it through very quickly. Then you can go back and you can find all the things that you were meant to find on the page as you're reading through. So you can go back and see, oh, hey, there's that little object. It's up in the top left corner. I can't believe I missed it. Now it's all I can see on the page. And then it goes one step further because there's an online component where you can unlock other great mysteries in the story. So I think, at some level it's quite difficult to get a certain kind of child who does like doing things other than reading to sit down with a book. And I think this is one of those picture books that has a long enough story, it has enough in it, and it has something online, which is really fun. And I'm not all about, online this, online that. I love books. I'm really old school. I'm really old school. But, I think that there is something to pull readers in as well, and that's important in literacy and in literature in the 21st century. I love it. You can just read it and reread it and reread it, and you can do that with all of Graham Bass's books. Queen Victoria's Underpants, Jackie French and Bruce Watley. Loved this book. I should preface I do a lot of the buying for Riverbend, and so I see a lot of publishers, and each month there are hundreds of books that I see, and one theoretically, hypothetically, could become very jaded with the amount of book covers and book descriptions and publisher hype about books that one can see. And usually picture books are kind of last on the list when you see a publisher. So, for example, I saw my Penguin rep today, and it took almost 2 hours, and right at the end there were these picture books, and by that time I'm like, oh my God, can this end right now? And so it's really hard to maintain your enthusiasm for picture books, but I've got to say, as soon as I saw Queen Victoria's Underpants, I was like, this is it, this is a picture book, this is what's really fun. There's many things I love about this book, and one of the best things is the discussion that you can have with kids. Obviously it's got that funny theme of, oh, Queen Victoria, she wore underpants and my grandma made them, and isn't that really funny? So it's got an entry-level toilet humour for kids who like toilet humour, but it's pretty classy as well because it's the Queen, so it's kind of crossing. And the good thing about it is that you can say, hey, did your grandfather invent anything? Did your grandmother invent anything? And they're like, oh, no, not really. But you can go back through and imagine what you could have invented, or maybe you're inventing things right now. You can talk about history, but it's in a really fun way. And the author note on the back page is all about what it was like to live in Victorian times, and that's the more accurate part than having I like the dog bone in the bloomers, just in case you're getting chased by dogs and you need a quick diversion. So it's got a lot of fun stuff in it, but it's also, it's a serious history book as well. And the what really tipped it over the edge for me is the opening pages are these two kids who are standing in a gallery, and they're looking at these portraits of what these famous people have done in the olden days and olden history and so forth. And I really like how that sets up the book for the reader to know that that's what they're going on, that's the journey that they're doing. My next book is that lovely whimsical book Precious Little by Julie Hunt and illustrated by Sue Moss. I confess I really skipped over this book the first time I read it just because it's so full on. It has got so much detail, so much it's really an integrated text and picture book, so the text is almost part of the picture. It forms the structure of, the carousel and so forth. It's one of those lovely books which you can turn around. There's pages that go the other way, like poles apart, and there's also a page where there's a swirl that goes the whole way around, and you really have to turn the book around to read. It's really hard to read that page sitting in the one static position. This, when I read it again, and then when I started reading it with kids as well, it turned out to be a really, really beautiful book, which I was just too busy to notice the first time I read it. But it's, I guess, its major theme is about fitting in. It's about a little girl who's at the circus and she wants to be the trapeze artist, but she can't because she's too little and she doesn't belong there. And so, through the story, you kind of gradually get her acceptance. She has these two kind of mythical, I think of them, because I'm an Enid Blyton reader, as Tiger Dan and Lou from 5 Go Off in a Caravan. I thought of them like that, but they're actually called Tough Luck and Fat Chance, and they're the people who are controlling the fates in the story. But it's a really lovely story because, there's acceptance at the end, and there's a good outcome, and there's just this very whimsical story. I confess, when I started reading it to kids, I was reading it to some very, very girly ballerinas, and I'm not sure that it really goes for the kind of tough action hero little boys, but it is beautiful. My next book is my absolute favourite. I just love this book so much. It's called A Rat in a Stripy Sock, and it's by Frances Watts and illustrated by David Francis. I don't want it to get out there that I was bribed by the author. I kind of was. She sent me a little page drawing from Rat when he finds his stripy sock signed on the back. So I was like, oh my God, I love it. It's beautiful. If you haven't picked up this book, this is one of those ones that might have slipped through. It's, it's by Frances Watts, so you probably have it there, but you haven't really done anything with it. I think it's beautiful. It's the story of a grey rat who lives in a grey city. It's a grey day, it's raining, and he's hiding under his little cardboard cutout piece of box that's slowly getting wetter and wetter and not covering him from the rain anymore. He chances upon a stripy sock and everything changes because this stripy sock is opportunity. It's the opportunity of his dreams. What I particularly like is that his dreams aren't just personal. They're not, I'm going to get lots of money and I'm going to do this. They're, I'm going to get lots of money and I'm going to host a lunch for all of my friends who can't afford it. So I really like the kind of, it's almost, social justice that when one person prospers, everyone prospers. I really love that theme in the book. And it's just about the opportunity of Rat to have a better life, and he does it well. I love him. The final one, which I need only say, one thing about, is the My Country book. The text is Dorothea McKellar, and the illustrations are by Andrew McLean. This is a beautiful poem. I remember my grade 4 teacher taught our class this poem, and I have loved it since then. We didn't have a beautiful book to look at the lovely illustrations, and I wish we had. This is a really special poem. It's about identity and Australian identity, our national identity, without being, really cliche, I think. It's absolutely beautiful, and I'm really glad that a new generation will get the chance to love it too. And thank you. Oh, clapping myself. Thank you. Oh, it's just like my dream of going to the Oscars. And the actual shortlist is Mirror by Jeannie Baker. Yay! Oh, a lovely book, Why I Love Australia by Bronwyn Bancroft. She's great. You need all of her books in your library also. A wonderful, massive picture book, Hamlet by Nikki Greenberg. That one's brilliant. Family Forest by Kim Kane. The lovely Two Peas in a Pod, very gorgeous, by Chris McKimmey. And My Uncle's Donkey by Toby Riddle, which, again, you will need. Yes. Thank you.